Hi, fourth graders. I'm back here again with another read aloud that is going to set you up with the background knowledge and information you need to understand the time period when Number of the Stars takes place, which is the Holocaust, and just all the different events that are occurring because of this time period. So the book I'm reading today is called The Yellow Star, The Legend of King Christian X of Denmark, and it's written by Carmen Agra Didi and illustrated by Henry Sorensen. So even if I'm just looking at the title, The Yellow Star, think about a certain star that I had talked a little bit about yesterday with the butterfly. The yellow star, it was as the Star of David, as the necklace that Severine had given to Monique. And there was also a little bit of mention of people having yellow stars, they were wearing them. So again, now we know a little bit more about this book from the knowledge we gained yesterday, that there's going to be some mention of the Jews wearing a yellow star. And I'm going to give you a little hint now. King Christian X of Denmark is mentioned in Number of the Stars because the story takes place in Denmark. So you'll definitely see him. He's mentioned within the first few chapters. So now you're going to have a little bit more information about who he was as a leader. So this is The Yellow Star. Early in the year 1940, in the country of Denmark, there were only Danes. So first page, I would jot this down. We know our setting. It's in Denmark. It's in the year 1940, which was all happening during the Holocaust and World War II. Key setting here. And people who lived in Denmark were called Danes, by the way. Tall Danes, stout Danes, old Danes, silly Danes, cranky Danes, and even some Great Danes for all you dog lovers out there. No matter how different from each other they seemed, the Danes held one thing in common. They were all loyal subjects of their beloved King Christian. Every morning their king rode alone and unarmed along the streets of Denmark's capital, Copenhagen. "Who's that?" a curious visitor once asked. "Why, that's our King Christian," his Danish host responded. "Without a bodyguard?" asked an astounded guest. "My friend," came the reply proudly, "a king so loved needs no bodyguard. We Danes would all stand together in defense for our king." Little did the Danes know how much they would need their wise king in the dark days to come. So even something I would jot down here is the relationship between King Christian and the people of Denmark. It seems that they both have a mutual respect for one another, and it seems that they would both do anything to protect one another. Like a fierce storm, war was spreading across Europe, like what was talked about in The Butterfly. And even good King Christian was powerless to stop it. Soon, Nazi soldiers gathered like dark clouds at the Danish border. Before we move on, let's think about the language that the author is using here. Seems to be comparing the Nazi soldiers to dark clouds. What do you think of when you think of dark, stormy clouds? You think if it's depressing, it's gloomy. But you also think of this sense of chaos that's coming in and disturbing the norm. And that's what was happening when the Nazis were coming into these different countries of Europe and occupying or invading and controlling them. Their arrival in Copenhagen brought food shortages, curfews, and a new flag, which had hung at the palace. The flag stood for war and fear and hatred. The Danes watched and waited to see what their king would do. King Christian sent a Danish soldier to remove the flag. So you can't really see the flag that well here, but this is what's flying is the Nazi flag. So it's showing that the Nazis have taken control in this case. And think about what King Christian's going to think of that his country is now being occupied by the Nazis. Upon discovering it missing, a Nazi soldier demanded to see the king and asked, "Who took down the flag?" "I sent a soldier to remove it," replied the king. Oh, you did you? Well, tomorrow another will fly in its place, the soldier boasted. Then tomorrow I will send another soldier to remove it, countered the king. And I will have that man shot, threatened the Nazi. Leaning forward, King Christian said evenly, then be prepared to shoot the king, for I will be that soldier. The Nazi flag did not fly from the palace again. So here, King Christian is standing his ground against the Nazi soldiers, and he's saying that every time you put that flag up, either I'm going to take it down or one of my soldiers is going to take it down. So think of the leadership that King Christian is showing here, right? He's willing to be shot and even die for his country to be free and to not stand for the Nazis taking it over. It just shows you what a great leader he is, how he's putting himself before his people. The missing flag became a powerful symbol of resistance, and King Christian's subjects found reasons to pass the palace gates to see where it once hung. Yet it was only a small victory. The king and his people's greatest test was still to come. The terrible news arrived quietly, with leaflets that fluttered down in the city of Copenhagen. Effective immediately, all Jews must sew upon their clothing a yellow star that must be visible at all times. And the yellow star, again, is the Star of David that was mentioned in the butterfly. It's a symbol of the Jewish faith. And now, what do you think? How do you think the Jews are going to feel now that they're going to be identified as Jewish even just by looking at them? Maybe think about how King Christian feels about the people of his country, the Jewish people of his country, having to do that and putting them in danger. The people of Denmark were frightened. They had heard terrible stories. In some places, once Jews wore the yellow star, they were taken away and never heard from again. As before, the people looked to their king. This time, their king was as frightened as his people. Without the yellow star to point them out, the Jews looked like any other Danes. Gentiles and Jews were all Danish subjects who worshiped God in different ways. If King Christian called on the tiny Danish army to fight, the Danes would die. If he did nothing, Danes would die. So King Christian's put in a difficult situation where he doesn't have much power, but he knows he needs to do something to save the people of his country, because he believes they're all equal. They may worship different gods in different ways, but they're still Danes at the end of the day. Perhaps it was this riddle of the yellow star that drew King Christian to his balcony that night. The sky was filled with the light of many stars. If you wish to hide a star, wondered the king, where would you place it? His eyes searched the heavens. Of course, he thought. The answer was so simple. He would hide it among its sisters. Think about that. If you wish to hide a star, where would you put it? It would hide among its sisters. The king summoned his tailor. So I want to think about, what could the king possibly be doing? Hiding it among its sisters. We'll have to find out what that means. The tailor, or someone who sews clothing and repairs it, the tailor arrived and listened to the king's surprising request. We only have an hour before I ride at dawn, the king said urgently. Can you complete this task in time? Yes, your highness, I'll begin immediately. The tailor bowed respectfully. And do you understand what this means? The king insisted. I do, your highness, as will all your subjects, he answered with pride. I trust they will, whispered the king, placing as much faith in his Danish subjects as they had placed in him. So we'll have to see what the tailor is going to do here with his attire that he's soon going to ride at dawn. So we're going to see what happens with this. The following morning, the king of Denmark with courage and defiance, rode alone through Copenhagen. He was dressed in his finest clothing. As they watched him pass, the subjects of King Christian understood what they should do. So we'll focus on a little more. Just look at King Christian on the horse and look what he has sewed into his clothing. And once again, in the country of Denmark, there were only Danes. So I'll move this closer so you can see. You can see with these first few individuals, everyone in the picture has a yellow star sewed onto them. They may not be Jewish, but again, King Christian was really about unifying his country, making everyone seem equal, because that's what they were in his eyes. So he, along with the rest of the people of Denmark, unified themselves by wearing this yellow star to say to the Nazis, well, if you're going to come at all the Jews, you're going to have to come over our whole country, because we are going to protect them and we're going to fight for them and keep them safe. So that's really the message that this book is bringing us today. And so when we start Number the Stars in the next day or so, you're going to have all this background information that's going to help you understand the story more. And particularly this one is going to give you kind of an edge in knowing what's going to happen, because the yellow star and King Christian are both mentioned in the book. So thank you so much for listening and watching me read this book to you. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will see you all soon. Thank you.